Welcome to the Ordinary Extraordinary Cemetery, where every death had a life and every life had a story. My name is Jenny Johnson,
Hello, and I'm Diane Hartshorn.
and we have joining us today one of our favorite guests.
Yes,
Tui Snider is back on the show.
Woohoo! So glad to be here.
So we're
Thanks for
glad to
having me.
have you. So before we start chatting with Tui, just a quick reminder that tickets are now on sale for this year's Beyond the Grave, the Phantom of the Opera, which
and
we
we're
are
already,
Oh,
oh, go ahead,
super.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
go
gonna,
for it.
we're already selling out. We have time slots already sold out, and I think we put the tickets up
Last week, last
last week.
Sunday.
Yep.
So this happens to be a Sunday that we're recording. So it's been a week since we put the tickets on
hmm
sale. We really haven't advertised it much yet. We just created the ticket links and put it kind of out there, but we're already selling out time slots. So if you're in Colorado or you're going to be in Colorado that first weekend in October, that first Friday and Saturday, the 3rd and the 4th, that's when the event is. I would recommend getting those tickets now rather than waiting because they may not be available much longer. I have a hunch the way they're selling, we're probably going to be sold out by like the middle of September this year. So, um, yeah, Diane and I, every time we go and look at the ticket link stuff, we're like, oh, there's more sold. Like it's just going really fast this year. So we're
hmm
grateful to all of those of you who have already purchased your tickets. Thank you. We're so excited. We have a very special connection to the cemetery this year. In addition to the story, like we do every year, it's classic literature. The original publication came out in 1911. It was first published as a serial in papers, like so many of these stories were. And then it became a book in 1911. And of course, there's the musical that everybody knows, The Phantom of the Opera, that's based off the book and stuff. But this will be our version based off the book. But Lon Chaney was the first to portray the Phantom
Right.
in the 1925 film in America. There's actually an earlier film version in Europe that didn't do quite as well. But he made that character famous because he was Lon Chaney. And he grew up in Colorado Springs, and his family was there for many, many years. They started the School for the Deaf and Blind in
hmm
Colorado Springs, a school that still operates to this day. And so we're having a lot of fun with the idea that we get to incorporate a piece of Colorado Springs history this year
Right.
into our story. So definitely come and check it out. Diane, what did
that
you want
sounds
to add?
so fun.
And that's the cool thing that there is that connection, and a lot of people know Lon Chaney for a bit living here, but like Jenny said, his parents came from Kansas. They started the Carl School for the Deaf and Blind, and there's a Lon Chaney Theater here. But
Which
I,
I've performed in.
oh, I didn't know that. So,
Years and years and years ago, I was in a show there.
and so it's like even though Lon Chaney's not buried here, his mom is buried here, and I think a brother and sister. Of course, Lon and his dad are in California, but still is that connection, a personal connection that we didn't have in any of our other stories. So we're very excited about that.
Yes. Yeah, being able to bring the history and the literature to life this year in
hmm
that way is going to be so amazing. So amazing.
And we had
So,
so
I
much
wish I
fun
could
even just
go.
doing the artwork for it because Jenny and I worked on it in tandem last weekend, and it was just so much fun watching it actually come to life
I
as we
know.
were
Yeah, we
moving
discovered
between.
we didn't know that we could do the whole Canva thing at the same time. And then as we were
Oh
trying to
yeah.
create it, we were like, oh, I'm doing this, she's doing that. And we eventually came up with what we both liked. And it was great. And it was nice not having to like do the back and forth of what do you
Yeah,
think of this? What do you
Yeah.
think of that? Oh no, there it is. And then somebody sends a message. This is perfect. We love this.
it
Like
was.
it
Yeah.
worked out beautifully. So Tui, you've been doing a ton of traveling. You're back home for a little bit now, taking a breather.
Yes. Well, not
But
really taking a breather. It's been busy.
well, true. But you're sleeping in your own bed at night.
That's
So
true. I am.
that's always my favorite part about coming home after travel. I love traveling, but
Yeah.
like those first couple nights after you get back and you're sleeping in your own bed and using your own bathroom and those types of like little things that you kind of take
It's
for
my
granted.
pillow for me. I like a
hmm
nice squishy pillow. I don't like a really firm pillow and these ones that give you a neck ache because they're so firm. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to. No. And of course, you do see, like in museums, you see those things that people used to sleep on, these rocks that would serve as
Oh yeah.
pillows or these really hard things. And I always think of me and my need for a squish pillow. Like, how could I have lived back then when they had these
Right?
really horrible pillows? That
No.
and my
So
cat. I'm cuddling with my cat. My cat and my squish pillow, that's pretty much perfection.
yeah, and cats are
It's
a
a
little hard
squishy.
to, I mean, I know there are people who travel with their cats, but that's not the easiest pet to travel with.
No.
So,
No.
and I'm sure your cat's happy to have you home too.
She is. She's very happy. I didn't usually before I do a podcast, I make sure I know where she is, and I didn't. I think she's sleeping in a window, so might be some meowing later on, but
Oh,
That's
whatever.
okay. Cats
yeah.
and dogs are always welcome on the podcast.
She likes to
So,
be part of it. She's usually part of it when I'm doing one.
exactly. I know there have been plenty of times. Now, Salem's never appeared on screen because he won't come in front of the camera. But there's been plenty of times we're recording and you can hear Salem yelling at me because he wants to do something else. And then I'm like, no, not
What a cute
yet.
name, Salem. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's named after, my favorite town to go visit. So,
Shocker.
and he's a black cat. So it worked. And
I
yes,
was guessing. I was jumping ahead to that. Well, okay. I'm glad you didn't disappoint.
and yes, there is a Salem who's a black cat on the show Sabrina the Teenage Witch from the 90s. That's not where I got the name from. It's just coincidence that they happen to have the same name in this case.
Well, there you go.
But so you have a new book, a brand new book coming out, Around the World in 80 Graves,
Mhm.
Graves.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to read this book. It's going to be so much fun to read. Just reading the description of the book, I'm like, can I have it now? Can I buy it now? Can I read it now? So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the concept for this particular book, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Well, this particular book is, if anyone wants to see it, it is out now, actually.
Yay!
The ebook is still on pre-order for a
Right.
few more days, but I've actually, the paperback is out because I had to publish them in order to have them on hand for my book release party, one of those things. So
True.
then I had this like, crud, I got to get this done. So anyway, the book is called Around the World in 80 Graves, and then the subtitle is Travel, Tombstones, and Transformation because I did start with the idea of I liked the name Around the World in 80 Graves. I'm a sucker for a pun. Like I wrote 6 feet under Texas.
Right?
I came up with the title first, and I thought,
Yep.
okay, well, how can I write that? And I thought this was that book I wrote during the COVID lockdowns, and I thought it was a great way for people to visit historic cemeteries, see cool graves around here. They're really historic uh, background, things that families could do and be social distancing. It's a great
Right.
place to go bird watching and all this other stuff too. And I uncovered all these interesting stories. So that was very much a travel book. And so I just would tell you here, go see Karen Silkwood's grave. She was a whistleblower and blah, 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 blah. And no, you're not going to get radiation poison when you visit her grave and just different graves you can go to. And I
Evoked a
told
few
us
things, huh?
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. But there were some really fun ones. Like there was a Texas oil man who had a phone line to his mausoleum for a few days because he joked that he was going to call everybody from hell to tell them what it was like. But anyway, so I had a bunch of places that he was a real character. Sometimes I'm sure you know what this is like. You research someone and you just wish you could meet them, and it really
Yes.
is a way. But it does. So that book was all about connecting people. So I thought that this book would be again just here since I have been very fortunate in the last 5 years. My husband and I spend about half the year traveling, and I have literally gone around the world several times. And it's a wonderful. As I say, Earth is my favorite planet. And that sounds flippant, but I also truly mean that. Uh, and yeah, I don't have any desire to go to Mars. I think we have a wonderful planet here. Lots of history is keeping me very busy. And so I thought I would just tell a story about I went and I saw this grave here. It was nifty, the little bit of history, and the next one in a picture, next one picture, and try to get like 80 ones in there. Instead, as I started writing it, it turned into the travel, tombstones, and transformation. I realized that a lot of these places that I have visited have really influenced me as well. They've influenced my outlook on life and death and everything in between. And I thought, wow, I wanted to share that with readers. So instead, it's 42 pages. It's not literally 80 graves. I hundreds of graves really. Um, but I start, and I was on a podcast last week, and they had read the book, and they said that it reminded them of like a bathroom reader. You know those kind of
Okay,
books that
Yep.
yeah, where you pick it up and you read something for a few minutes and yep.
especially before, people would had cell phones. They would go in there and scroll phones now. Back in the day, people would have these bathroom readers.
They would
And
have
she said, I
books.
don't, yeah, she said that one of the co-hosts was like, yeah, it reminded me of that, in that you don't have to, you can just pick it up and read a chapter that you think would be interesting. Or it's, but the other co-host said that it was good to read it start to finish, but it's each chapter is standalone, and some of them have actually been published as articles elsewhere. But they are all what's different, and what ended up being how I decided what I wanted to have in each this book is that each of these affected me. So I don't know, for instance, when um, I went to Australia and I went to Melbourne Cemetery, one of their cemeteries there. And my husband was reconnecting with his friend who he hadn't seen since they were kids. So it's like 30 plus
Oh, how
years later.
fun.
And they immediately, but he's living in down under, and they got the opportunity to get together. So they were just talking a mile a minute. His friend knows that and I love that. It's really fun to see that kind of lifetime friendship,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just that they hadn't even been in contact in so long. And it just 2 seconds later, old jokes going. They were in their zone.
We
So
just
he
picked
knew
right up
that
where they left off.
he
Hmm.
did. It was really cute, and I was loving it. But he knew that I study cemeteries, so he just drove us to kind of a modern cemetery,
That's
which
cool.
I usually tend to go to the more older ones.
Right.
But I was like, fine, this is fine. And I was surprised. It was news to me that I didn't know there was so much Greek influence in Melbourne. There were so many
Oh,
Greek immigrants there. And so I was seeing all this Greek, uh, Orthodox Greek style tombs,
oh, how cool.
and they have lamps in them with lamp oil, very
Oh,
distinct.
oh,
I'm
that's
like, well,
really
this is
neat.
really, yeah. And a lot of them have like a little, they might have a box tomb, but marble, and then, but it might have a little clear case with a key that you could open up that has cleaning supplies in it.
Oh,
So
how
when you come,
cool.
because tending the grave is a big part of
Right.
what they do. And so I was walking around, and I just went back to the car, and they were still talking so much. I thought, well, I'll go off again. And I walked off, and I just suddenly I saw, those portraits, porcelain portraits they have on
Yes. I love
this
those.
one, a very modern one, and this gal's face, this young woman's face was just so radiant. It was just calling to me, and I went over to it. And as I was walking over, and I took several pictures of it, and I was just standing there, and all of a sudden I hear that crunch of a car on gravel, and I realize, oh no, someone is coming driving along. And I thought, maybe it's her parents, of this young
Right.
woman,
I
25-year-old lady. Oh, and I was just gonna run. I thought, I don't want to, be around.
can just picture Tui running through the cemetery.
Yeah, I'm just gonna run and hide. And then another part of me was like, don't be so cowardly. You're standing here looking at this grave, and it is their parents. Then you just hold your ground. Don't be such a chicken. But it was hard because I realized that what I had grown up, and what I think is a very American idea or concept, is when people are grieving, you just leave them alone. You don't
Right.
even I mean, I think maybe 100 years ago, people were better. They would bring food over to your house. And I read
Yeah.
accounts of people, and all the mourning. I think that's one reason we're so intrigued by the Victorian mourning,
Yeah.
such a strict protocol and all that, and how it was such a recipe for how to act, is because we sort of don't have that now. And what happens is that really awkwardness. Like, I
Hmm.
remember my mom once wanted to invite someone down who'd been recently widowed to our house, and then she's like, "But I don't know, he's still crying about his wife dying, blah blah blah. Like this was a bad thing, and she didn't want to have him to dinner." I know that sounds so heartless and mean, but it was just kind of disparaging. Like, I did not learn, and I was not, for some reason, didn't get the thing that I always feel awkward. Someone's grieving. What do I do? And I
Right.
always in a cemetery in general, I don't want to. I figure someone's there to be alone and have some private time with their deceased, memories of the deceased, and at the gravesite. So I want to give them that. I understand being polite in that way. But on the other hand, I thought, I don't, what do I say to someone with a grieving? What do we do? So
Right.
I write all about this. It's very long-winded, I know. I think I explain it better in the book, but I'm standing there. I'm total chicken. But somehow I forced myself to stand there. And yes, a man and a woman get out and they walk over. The woman just barely acknowledges me. She opens up the little locked cabinet, pulls out some cleaning supplies, and starts cleaning the grave, even though it was already quite clean. It
Oh,
was one of those graves that was so well tended. And she's replacing the flowers that were
Mm.
hardly even brown, and she's just cleaning them. I'm like, okay, she's grieving. This is her grief process. But the man goes, he has a thick Greek accent, and he's just like, so he looks at me, so did you know our Mercina? And I'm like, no, no, I didn't. She just called to me. Her really radiated, and I forget, I wrote it down in the book, but and he's like, yes, she had that effect on everyone. She
Aw.
was, and he comes over, he ends up, he puts his arm around me and has my hand. He just like pulled me in. It's just like, fine, and he's like, he starts talking. Like the more we talked, I'm going to tell you about our Mercina. And he starts telling
Oh,
me,
I love
and then
this.
he tells me that he tells me, yes, she was such a good girl. She came every week. She would tend her grandmother's grave. And it
Oh.
was there that a serial killer came and killed her at her grandmother's grave. And people walked by and thought she was just mourning, but she was laying there dead. And I'm just like, what? Did you just say serial killer? I can't believe this. So, of course, I have her name and Mercina Helvages. And by the time we ended up talking, I said, thank you for sharing your daughter with me.
Oh my goodness.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm crying. He's crying. I just stood there until it felt fine to go. And then I just sort of stumbled back to the car. My husband and his friend were still chattering. They didn't even notice that I'm just like blowing my nose and like crying and everything. But, yeah, so of course I turned to Google later and I looked it up, and this young woman had been tending her grandmother's grave, and this horrible guy who really should have been put away because he did have priors, um, was known for being just really hating women and doing some horrific things to them. He attacked her and killed her right at her grandmother's grave. Oh, so yeah, that was in it. Yeah, so I realized that that really transformed the way I feel about grief now. If someone's grieving, you just to sit with someone when they're grieving. You don't have to have the answers. Just listening. I
Right.
didn't say anything profound to her dad. I just listened to him tell me what he experienced and how she was, and I just stayed there and we just gazed at the grave together and just kind of I don't know. I felt like that was for them the healing process of coming there and uh so yeah, but
Oh,
of
what
all
a
the things.
horrible. I mean, the amazing part about her is cool. Her story of how she died is
yeah, it's horrible.
so horrible.
It's
And it makes
yeah.
you go, I mean, there have been times I mean, all of us here, we've been in dozens and dozens of cemeteries. Often
Mhm.
I'm by myself, and those types of stories, when I do hear them, make me go, I really should make sure I'm being more aware of my surroundings in those cases. But
Yes.
I think, I mean, you did the right thing though with the grieving. A lot of times, like you said, we don't have the right words. Nothing we can say to somebody who's in the grief process is going to make them feel better in most cases. But being
Hmm.
able to listen when they want to just share either how they're feeling or share about the person. I love that he opened up to you about her and told you about her personality and who she was, and how she loved to tend her grandmother's grave and those little things, because those are the things that keep people alive for us after they're gone, is being able to talk about them. And I do think, especially maybe in America, and maybe it's different around the world in other cultures, but we have gotten to a point where we're like, we don't want people to talk about it, and we don't feel like we can talk about it to other people because we don't want to make somebody sad, or we don't want to upset
Right.
them. We don't want to step on their toes when it comes to how they might be feeling. But I think we're learning as a society again that it's important to talk about our deceased loved ones, because that's how we heal for those of us that are left behind. So
I think we are learning. I think we are making some progress. I think that we really did move away from it. I think in a big part of it was, I think, after the Great Depression when families really dispersed and there wasn't the family, you didn't have the elders there to maybe model this good behavior for
right.
you. And also to see the community modeling how to be a good community. So people became very dispersed. And when you don't know your neighbors, maybe that good community sense isn't being modeled to you anymore. You're not experiencing it. And so you don't know how to reach out. Uh, yeah, so I think that we are learning and coming along that way. It is interesting to see. And that really was tremendous experience. And
Oh
yes, when
yeah.
you go to a cemetery alone, you really should tell someone that you're going there. Like I always tell someone where I am. I resisted
Right.
getting a cell phone for the longest time or even carrying it on me. But then I started thinking like I'm driving home from work alone at night. If I break down and
Hmm.
no one knows where I am, or sometimes I would just want to go hiking by myself. And I started realizing, well, no one, if I just fell over right now, would know where I
Right.
was. I had better start being as this young single woman or just any age woman or person, you just I just say especially women, since we do seem to be preyed upon
Um,
more.
Totally.
You just can't
it's
just
a
you
fact
should
of
really
life.
always make sure people know where you are. And so I had a friend, we would always call each other before we went, I'm married now, but I'm going on a date tonight. This is his name and his
Oh.
number and blah, 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 blah. But I mean, once you're married, you can kind of get a little lackadaisical and start wandering off. And now you still need to let every people know where you are. I mean, my book
Exactly.
actually starts off with my kidnapping attempt when I was almost kidnapped, in the
Ugh,
cemetery, which I talked about before, then and how that affected me through my
right.
life and how it actually might have turned me into a writer in some ways because I did turn to writing after that. Since no one believed me, it was a place that I could write and put my feelings and things like that. So sort of my little origin story.
I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most about reading your book, this particular book, because you're talking about how visiting these cemeteries or these grave sites transformed you on a personal level. Like, yes, you went and visited them and you saw really cool things, and everybody's like, oh, I can't believe you were in this country or that country or whatever. But it built upon who you are personally, and it's helped you with as you go forward and you visit other cemeteries and you talk to other people. And I mean, the lovely thing about Tui is that she's not afraid to talk to people. So you
Usually
gain
not.
more insight in it, and it makes you just a better person in general because now you have grown from these experiences. So it's not just you going to the cemetery to do some research, it's you growing from the cemeteries that you've visited and your experiences in America and in all these other countries you've been fortunate enough to have time in and spend with their dead and not just the living.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, there was some really interesting graves and cemeteries I've been to, but I realized if I don't have a story around it, if it didn't transform me or really make me think or ponder, it's not going to be in the book. So only the ones that had some sort of moment, a little twist to them. And if I was writing and I just didn't get that, yeah, something shifted here in the narrative, if there's not that, if it was just too much of I went here, A, B, C,
Right.
Right.
no, it just didn't make it in the book. So.
I
I
love
was I was scrolling through the table of contents of your book and I popped into chapter 7, the family
Oh,
plot when history
oh,
came calling. And I was like, because sometimes y- you can only really say this to other cemetery people that, sometimes people call to you, sometimes you stroll upon somebody that they want you to share their story. And unless you're a cemetery person telling another cemetery person this, people probably would look at you like you're crazy. But I,
exactly.
I love the story in chapter 7. That was a cool story.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know if you want me to tell it or not.
No, I
it's
was gonna
up
say,
to
would
you
you
if
like
you
to
want to
share it?
share it. You get to
Yeah,
decide how much of your book you want to share on the
Yeah.
air.
Oh, yeah.
I can. There's so much in the book. There's no way I could overshare it. But I also want to say I made a reader's guide that goes with it.
Yes, this is the other
It's
really
like,
cool thing.
I thought it was just going to be like 10. This is the same angel too from a different angle, which I love.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
This
I
is
didn't realize they were the same.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
now that you're
realized
held
that
side
people
by
might
side.
not know that. So this is yeah, Giulio Monteverde's famous Angelo della Resurrezione, the angel of
Hmm.
resurrection, and she's in Genoa. And
She's
this
so
is her
pretty.
from a different angle. Doesn't she look, you go around, she even has different expressions on her
Yeah,
face. It
she
seems like a
does.
I
She looks
think
different
like
that's
she's
why I
angle.
really
didn't
different.
realize they were the same angel because from
One
that
of
profile side,
mhm.
she does have a different expression on her face.
She does. Her lips look parted more. It's a little more ponderous, like she's thinking.
Yes,
So
Mhm.
I thought it was good for the reading guide. Like, oh, what am I thinking of the book
she's
now?
So,
And then
contemplating.
this one, she's like, let me tell you a story. This is how it went
yeah,
down.
exactly.
And then she's like, well, let's ponder this story a little bit.
I
And
love it.
I have a friend who does sculpture, and he was loving her lips. He goes, lips are so hard to do, and he's like, her lips are just amazing. And I'm like, well, okay. He really appreciated. He said to get realistic looking things, you can just do them. They look great from one angle and they look really stupid or like tense from another angle. He goes, she's just very alive. But Italians and sculpture, oh my gosh, they
Yep,
really
they've
know
been
what they're
doing it
doing.
for centuries. So,
Anyway, but so I have a little like, it's for like reader groups or whatever. It has a little, I thought it was just going to be like a little 10-page thing, but I started really getting into what the themes might be for each chapter. It was kind of fun for me to put together. I do have a whole chapter about the Monteverde angel just because I thought,
oh,
well, I
I
better
love
tell her
that.
stories.
I love the reader's guide. That is so, I don't think that is really neat.
I thought of it. Yeah. And so I thought it would be fun.
Ingenious.
I thought it'd be a fun thing to do. So anyway, yeah. So chapter 7, once upon a time, I was, I was actually researching that other book, the 6 Feet Under Texas. I was
Mhm.
at the memorial that why is that hard to say? Murder memorial that we
Oreo.
have here. Yeah, hard to say, a little tongue twister, but it's different. Okay, so like you drive down the road and you see a cross by the side of the road, and usually maybe someone died in a car crash or something
Right.
there, right? Well, you're driving along Richardson, Texas, it's near me anyway, Richardson, Hurst area, right around there. There's one neighborhood when you're driving along, suddenly there's all these crosses by the side of the road, and if you get out, there's a little park, and you could walk through it, a whole bunch more crosses, white crosses. They're all uniform.
Hmm.
Kind of in that way, it reminds me of like a military grade
Right, because
because
everything's
there's
exactly the
a
same.
yeah, a uniformity to it. But you look at it. So what is the deal? There wasn't a huge like 18 buses fell here. I mean, there's maybe 200 of these crosses. What it is it's a memorial for people who have been murdered. And this woman, she was so appalled when her granddaughters murderers went to trial. She was there at the trial, and they were standing up in the court saying they hoped to get famous by killing her, that they thought that they were going to get notoriety. And she was so disgusted by that she
Ew.
said, why should their names live on? It's
Yeah.
Right.
the names of the victims that should live on. That's why, like in the book, when I talk about Mercina Helvages, I I didn't realize how murdery this theme was going to be. I wasn't trying to make it the way. Anyways, and the book doesn't have a lot of murder in it. I think we're getting that out of the way. Um, but anyway, I don't even mention the name of the serial killer because he is horrible and
He
just
doesn't
his
deserve
name
it.
should be forgotten. She was wonderful, and I want to remember Marcina Halfagas and her family. So it's the same. This woman, Carolyn Baker, her granddaughter was killed, and she's like, "Why are these guys get people going to be reading about them and thinking about them when they're just horrible?" So she started putting. Somehow it became a thing. Other people asked if they could put crosses there to
Oh,
commemorate people who had been murdered. So there's one for Amber Hagerman, who I do mention in my book, for the Amber Alert. Her
yes.
body is not buried there. These are all cenotaphs, essentially. They're
Yeah.
all
Right.
just markers, but it's just a sobering place to walk. And the
Oh,
first time my husband and I walked through there, I looked over and my husband was wiping tears from his eyes, which, we go to cemeteries all the time. And yet
right.
here, and it was very moving. It was a different feeling, just to think like, wow, all these people met violent ends.
Mm.
And it's a different kind of thing. And there is grief counseling, like there's placards there that tell you how
Oh,
to get grief
that's
Oh,
cool.
how
counseling.
lovely.
They do different family members who were lost friends to murder and just no one else can relate to them. They can connect with each other. So it is a very interesting thing. So I was walking along those. I call it a cemetery in the book, I think, just to not to go into too much detail, but that's where I was walking and taking photos. My mom calls me out of the blue, which she is just hilarious when she does that. And because my mom never calls me really, except for birthdays and stuff. She's just,
Right.
we grew up when like it costs money to call long distance. You don't call unless there's info to impart, you
Right.
know? It's just so funny. So I always think, oh no, something's wrong, or else it's a butt dial, frankly. She thinks she's calling someone else. So you know. So she called me and she's like, honey, are you writing another book? And I'm like, yeah, mom, what's it called? And I said, it's called 6 Feet Under. Oh, okay. Well, oh no, first she asked where I was. Like, I'm in a cemetery. And then, what do
Doing
you,
some
and
research.
yeah, shock right away. She goes, well, and so she said, well, did I ever tell you about our ancestors who were Swiss German and they came over to, I think we might have mentioned this on your show before too, how Galveston is kind of the
Yep.
Ellis Island too. I mean, so many people, I didn't know how many people until I was researching the Texas Swiss Germans and the Germans who came through Texas.
Right.
Uh, that's why we have such great German food down here. and they started beer making and things like that. So some of my ancestors who were Swiss German came and they settled down in that hill country area where they were all were. And they when they came to America, they pledged allegiance to, well, they pledged Troia de Union is what it was called, their allegiance to the Union
Right.
because yeah, so they pledged their allegiance to the Union. They became American citizens, and then suddenly there's this civil war, and Texas is seceding from the Union.
Right. But they pledged their
They
allegiance
just
to the
their
Union.
allegiance is to the Union, and nor do they believe in slavery. So they were, what is this all about? We don't really see why we should be seceding. We kind of want to be part of the Union. So the governor at the time said, okay, anybody who doesn't want to fight for the Confederates has 1 month to leave Texas. So that's fine. So this guy gathered up about 40 men and they got on their horses and they started riding south. They were going to hit a boat and then I think go to New Orleans and then start fighting, find a way to fight for the Union. And they thought they had time, so they weren't rushing. They were going along. They'd stop, camp by a river, water their horses. You couldn't just, you had to pace
Right.
yourself. And they thought, okay, we got a month to do this. Well, there was this rogue Confederate who I've read about a few times, Duff. And he was a terrible guy. He's been behind some really awful, heinous acts, including he ambushed these Swiss Germans in as they were camped out by the Nueces River, and it's called the Nueces River Massacre. They got them at dawn. They killed them, caught them up on no, yeah, and then they left their bones to bleach in the sun. Further insult, not even giving them a Christian
Mm.
burial. Some of people managed to escape. I guess some of my ancestors did. I haven't figured out exactly which one because at the time I was researching all this, I had no idea I wasn't related to any of them. This is the thing. I'm telling this like telling a joke where I'm telling the punchline first because in the book I lay it out a little better. My mom is just telling me this, and I suddenly realized, wow, I just wrote a chapter about these people for my book. I was feeling very indignant and upset for them. And now I had this other layer where like,
And you're like, wait, I
oh
was
my gosh,
related to
I
some
didn't know
of
what
them.
they were.
Yeah.
I was related to some of them. So my brother's been helping me figure out exactly who they're related to. We may also be related to some people who there's this thing called Dead Man's Hole here in Texas, which sounds like, oh, just a spooky name for a place. But no, there are at least 17 people who had been chucked down this
Oh, geez.
cave by Duff, that horrible rogue Confederate guy. Yeah, just if they wanted your farm, they might, and your husband was off fighting somewhere or
Yeah.
whatever, they might come along and say, "Yeah, you're a Yankee sympathizer or something," or they would accuse people of different things, not really do a formal trial, and then dump them down the hole. And they know of at least 17 people. So I
Oh my
visited that
gosh.
as well. And so I may well be related to some people who were harassed.
Wow.
There's an account of some of my brother sent me some information, some of my relatives pouring hot oil on some of the guys who came around the cabin when the men weren't
Holy
around to
cow.
try, because they were like, you might as well marry us because your men folk are
And they
dead.
were like,
And
no.
no, I think you deserve a face full of hot oil. Yeah. So some
Hey,
of
you
my
got to fight with
kinfolk,
what you
wow,
got.
scrappy,
So,
scrappy. Right, I know. So there's a lot there, but yeah, I think in the book I do a much better job than my much rambling. I'm much better at writing than I am at chatting away, I suppose.
oh
Oh
no,
no,
But
just the
yeah,
I
whole
love when you
idea.
chat because it's just a story. I mean, you're still building it
Just
all
the
up.
idea you were there. And then
yeah,
your mom calls, and then you're like,
what, Mom?
yeah, mom butt dialing me. Mom. So I picked it up
I know.
and it's like, oh, yeah, that stuff
It
is
was
so
just
cool when
so
that
perfect. I'm
happens.
like, really? Yeah, it was really neat. Yeah, my mom is very funny. She's actually, her side of the family has all these kind of psychic stories on them.
I
And
love it.
but my mom does not believe in ESP at all. And yet, like, something told her to call me and tell
Yep.
me that. Because the way she did was she's like, okay, well, in that case, she just had to tell why she had to impart that to me in that moment. It was just, yeah, she's done that with so many different things. But then
That's
she'll
so
be like,
cool.
no, there's no such thing. Yeah, whatever. She's a
Whatever, mom.
character. She's like, oh well, she's a lot of fun.
She's the woman who's not going to accept that she might have some other abilities. So they're there.
Exactly.
She's just not
They're
going to
there.
admit to it. I love it.
No, no, it's too funny. She'll just know things though. Like, I mean, oh, one example, a friend of mine died, and casual conversation. mom calls me out of the blue. Hey, why did she call me then now? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm a little upset today because I just found out that so and so died. She goes, oh, suicide. No one had told her. There was not, she just knew. And even the family
Whoa.
knew. And my mom just knows it's suicide. I'm like, Mom, why'd you say that? She goes, oh, I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, you're just psychic, is what it is. She just no, she just always knows a little more than she should. It's kind of funny.
And a little spooky.
Yeah.
It is a little spooky. It is a little spooky. One of my favorite stories from her side of the family was my grandfather was in World War One, and it was 1918, and he was, oh gosh, he's there in the battlefield. All of a sudden, he sees his fiancée walking towards him, reaching out, and then she just fades away. And in that moment, he realizes she must have died, and she
Oh,
had, in fact, died of the flu,
Oh,
oh, poor
that big
thing.
flu. I know. But yeah, that kind of spooky side, my mom's side has got all the visions and the ghost stories all run down her side.
I love it though.
that
It
could be
is
a book right
fun.
there.
Yeah,
It
there's a
could.
whole nother book for you to write now.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just come up with a punny name for it first. Find a pun in there and then I'll
Well, I'm so good. So the book, like you said, the paperback version
Mhm,
and the guide are both
mhm.
available now, and we've shared some links, and I'll share more links to ordering them. I was sharing them last week because we've had a slew recently of our favorite authors
Yeah,
coming back on the show with their new books. So I was
Oh,
like,
there's so many
people,
great books. Like
here's
there
Sharon
are.
Wake's name, the
yep,
haunted Virginia cemeteries. And I need to
yes.
find out if she's ever been to the one that saved my life in Blacksburg, Virginia. I wonder if she's ever been to Westview. But
I
because
don't know. I mean, she's been to a ton of. I have the book sitting
I
over
need to
there.
I
So
need that book. And then yeah, and then Lauren has had that Kickstarter and
yes,
her
for her
yeah.
Still
Are
Wish
there
You Were Here is Lauren's
yes.
book coming out, which that one, if I read the first one, The Wish You Were Here, so good. So it's kind of like this book that
Yeah.
you're putting out. It's her experiences and the experiences of other people that wrote for her too, of death or cemeteries or whatever. And it just again, it gives you that moment of not only are cemeteries our place where we have to put our dead because we have to put them somewhere after they die, but how these cemeteries transform people's life, the living people's lives. And that's, I love those kind of stories. So you've
Yeah.
done that with this book. She did that with both Wish You Were Here and Still Wish You Were Here. And like, it's just a moment to give you pause when you visit the cemetery to
Right.
maybe open yourself up to the fact that something more could happen than just hopefully something positive, not negative. That when you're in these spaces, that something more is going to happen than just the fact that you're walking among the gravestones and whatever, that you'll make some sort of connection that just broadens your whole view on life and the world and the planet Earth.
Yeah, I remember that cemeteries are for the living, and I just don't. People wait till a funeral to go to a cemetery. Well, of
Right.
course, you're not going to have great associations. I mean, but
Right.
visit them for fun. I was just in a cemetery yesterday. I was trying to find this a monument. There used to be this really great black granite monument of a calculator because I have to have another book done, but for I'm on contract to get this other book done. It'll be photos, really cool photos
I
of
love it.
books of graves. And so it's this life, I mean, more than life, what am I saying? Life size. It's way bigger than a
Right.
calculator. It's a T130 calculator. It's like
Oh, fun.
5 feet tall and it had Texas Instruments. And then on the screen, it says hello. And I have a really bad photo I took of it that was actually there for a funeral. So I just snuckily, that's why I'd be like,
Right.
oh my gosh, sneakily as we were going back to the car, I just ran over, snap, took pictures with like an iPhone 4, blah. So I thought, okay, great, we'll get a really good photo. And we went to back to that same cemetery, running all around. Yesterday was hot as blazes in Texas, shocker. But my
Well,
point
it is
is,
August.
yeah, I mean, really, what do you expect? I saw so many families out sitting there with their lawn chairs and a cooler in
Oh, I
between
love
them.
it.
These people were playing cards sitting there, and this,
Oh, that's so cool.
I usually see people in maybe older cemeteries or, doing the um, decoration day and the different
Right.
events we have. But I love to see just this is a modern cemetery, very recent burials all around. Does, yeah, and there were so many people out and about just using it in
Oh,
that
I love
way.
that.
Oh,
I
what a
love
neat
that.
It was very
idea.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have to say, speaking of the photographs, I had to laugh. So yesterday we had the Central City Cemetery crawl, and I was part of that. And I was positioned at the grave where the person I was portraying, she and her husband are buried, and one of her daughters. And actually, I discovered a grave nearby that's another son. But there, she had three young sons who had passed away all when they were children, and they're buried in the same cemetery, but like across from where we were, so not close to where her grave was. And
Oh,
so I had posted on my own social media a picture of the gravesite I was at, plus the grave of the three babies where they're at. And I'm so happy to Kate Hayfield. She's another AGSer who remembered seeing that grave when they came out for the AGS conference that we had in Colorado a couple of years ago. Her picture was so much better than the one that I had. One, she was in better lighting. When I took mine, I was, and I didn't take it yesterday. I took this the last time I was up there, but
you can't control that
the
lighting.
lighting
Oh,
was not great, so you couldn't see the
hmm.
detail. And it's a really gorgeous, like triple marble stone with three little angels
Yeah.
across the top and everything. So
Oh,
thank you, Kate, for sharing that, because your picture of it so much better. But also, I could tell in the 2 years, 3 years since we've had that conference, the weather's really aged that particular stone even
oh,
more. I mean, it is
really?
marble, so it's sugared a little bit
Oh,
more.
yeah. Marble is so
But yeah,
Yeah.
susceptible.
and it's a mountain cemetery, and the elements
Mm.
can be rough up there, and especially
Yeah,
in the winter.
yeah.
So I
Well,
was very grateful that Kate had that magnificent picture. So thank you, Kate, for sharing it with us, because it's so much better than the one that I took. But yes, I get it, because sometimes you snap that quick picture and then you have to go back for a better one.
oh yeah. Or this is really frustrating. You travel a couple hours to find this obscure one. You've been going through mud and trying to avoid snakes and everything else, not get the car stuck, and then you're hiking and yada yada. And then you get there and it is just the most terrible lighting. Like
Yes.
half the stone is in shadow and half is in sharp sunlight because
Yep.
of Texas, that real sharp contrast. It's not one or the other where you can deal with it, or dappled sunlight that is just too dappled. Oh, I
Yep.
carry a little parasol with myself that has a white lining that I can sometimes use to reflect some sun on there.
Oh,
But
that's a
there's
good idea.
only so much you can do. Sometimes you just wish you could tip the monument
I
around
know,
into the
right?
sun, because I'm like, I am not coming back here. This is just my luck. I mean, this was my chance to get that shot of this
You're like, now I have to sit here and
stone.
wait for the sun to move.
I have done that, waited quite a bit. Like, I am just coming back to this stone in 20 minutes, but sometimes it's just not in your favor, the lighting.
Yes. So, but the Texas instrument, that's just taking me back to high
Oh,
school and having to do math.
yeah. Now I need to find out that stone is no longer there. We ended up asking a couple caretakers where it was, and they told us they think it was gone. It was so strange because we were going in circles. We remembered where we'd seen it. I found some other things. I found like a stone that looked just like a horse saddle,
Oh,
and
cool.
some really very Texan-y things. I'm like, wow, and some Baha'i faith ones, imagery with really cool stars that I'm like, oh, that's so
Hmm.
neat. Yeah, but I was trying to stay focused, looking for that calculator. It's not there now. So I'm gonna call them again. I have called that cemetery before and tried to get information, and they've just put me on hold
Oh,
forever. But he gave me a name of someone to talk to, the cemetery. I love talking to groundskeepers because they always know what's up.
yes,
You
they
get
Oh, they
all
do.
know the good
good
stories.
info. Oh, they do.
And they know where
Like that.
everything is located. Like you can just
Mhm.
barely describe it sometimes. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's this way. Come this way.
It's like we're in the town I live in. We had the guy who played Chewbacca in Star Wars is buried here, Peter Mayhew, 7'4".
Oh,
So the
big man.
groundskeepers were saying, "Oh yeah, it was hard to find a coffin
Hmm.
to fit him," and but they were telling me all about his memorial because it was kind of under wraps since he was so famous. They
Right.
didn't want it being crashed by the public, which I understand. I wouldn't have gone anyway. Uh, but they said a horse-drawn carriage. They have this old funeral carriage there, which I
I
guess
love
they
it.
use every now and then. Yeah, and they have a horse-drawn carriage, and they had sparkles on the hoofs of the horses. He said it was just really beautiful
Oh, how
thing.
neat.
Yeah, it is a really interesting
That,
grave.
that is
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
cool.
it must be
So,
hard to be a funeral director for celebrities. I mean,
yeah,
when you're trying to
probably.
keep certain things under wraps and you want to keep it important for the family, But if
Yeah.
it's a celebrity who's been well loved by the public for especially for years, to try
Oh,
and be
yeah.
like, we want to hold a private ceremony that's just for, the people that were actually important to the celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine trying
Well,
to control
or
that.
even an infamous person. So Lee
Right.
Oh,
Harvey
that too.
Oswald,
Yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald got shot after he, I have
After
to be
he,
careful. I can't say he shot JFK or I get emails from people saying this never went to trial, yada
he
yada. So anyway,
allegedly shot
yes.
him. We'll say it just like they do if,
Okay.
if you're a lawyer. He allegedly
Okay.
shot him.
But he did get shot by Jack
Yes,
Ruby,
he
so
did.
he's dead. So they did not know what to do with his body. It's Dallas. It's very, hello, he just the president's dead. It's a
Right.
very big topic. Nation is in shock. So nobody would touch him in Dallas. So they secretly brought his body over to Fort Worth. They went to
Wow.
Shannon Rose Hill. They said, sure. They kept him under wraps. They gave him a pseudonym. They were doing what they
Wow.
could. And then right at the last minute, but reporters were really trying to figure out where he was.
I bet they
And
were.
this one reporter got a little scoop that they were looking for pallbearers. And no one would volunteer to be a pallbearer for him. But he said, why not? This is a scoop. So he stepped up to become the pallbearer. And so then several other reporters were
Reporters.
like, oh, well, Joe's doing it. Oh. And so that's what happened. And then they had this, they just grabbed, read some reports about the Reverend who didn't even know who was going to be eulogizing until like 10 minutes
Oh, good
before.
grief.
So he had to come up with a eulogy for this. I mean, it's just
For
the
a
whole
man
thing.
who just murdered the president of the United States, there's a eulogy that you
Yes,
want to
I
give.
know how that's got to be. How do you wrap your theological mind around that and tie
Ugh.
that up with a bow when you're the minister? That must have been very turning point for him in his career. So that was really interesting along those lines of being secretive. We were talking about
Texas
that
has
and,
a
and,
lot
and
of
dealing with fame.
Yeah, Texas has a lot of interesting burials.
They do. That's why I like to say I know where the bodies are buried in Texas.
Yeah.
I love it so much. No, well, I also think about for what now I've never actually been to Texas. I have a lot of family in Texas.
Yeah.
My maternal grandfather was born and raised there, and my grandmother moved back and forth between there and Chicago. So I've heard stories about Texas my whole life. I've never
Oh, really?
actually visited the state,
Well,
but
you know somebody here too. I got a
I
guest room.
know.
Just make sure I'm home when you come.
Right.
Give me a
Make
little
sure you're
head.
not out
Yeah.
of the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a lot of big stories out, Texas in itself is a big land-wise state. And
It
there's a
is.
lot of big personalities who have spent their lives and deaths in Texas, which makes
Oh
it a
yeah.
fun place.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I actually do talk about some of them in the book. I got a whole book of them, but even
Yeah,
the
and
new
I was
book,
gonna say you
I
have a whole
can't
nother
help.
book that's only about those Texas graves
Yeah,
and some of those
yeah.
big stories.
But
But
I couldn't leave
I
Texas out of the other one either. There were some good Texas stories.
well, I mean, you do live there. I can see where that would be an easier one to come up with the stories to and do your research on because you're
Yeah.
there in person. Well, I am super stoked that the book is out. And of course, the ebook is coming if you prefer to read the ebook version. We will definitely have all the links for how to purchase the book. And once the ebook is available, we'll have that link for our listeners too, so they can come back
Yeah,
and
the
do it.
ebook comes out on the 25th. So it is
So,
Very
pre-order
cool.
now. You can pre-order it now, and I got it as
yes,
cheap as I can make it. It's a big file because of all of the photos, so I made it as cheap as Amazon would let me for the ebooks.
sure.
Well,
But
still, you put
you
a
know
lot of
what?
work in it.
You put
I
the
did,
work
I
into it and
did.
you deserve to
Yeah.
make something off of it.
Oh, I
So,
did. But I like to the early adopters. I like to reward anyone who's into me at the beginning. And then I put
sure.
it up to the regular price. After my party, I will. But buy it, grab it now because you heard first.
And the one thing we didn't get to, and we'll keep this really brief. You just did this summer, right? You did another tour in Italy.
Oh, I will be doing
It's
another
coming up.
tour on
Yes,
October on Halloween.
that's right.
Oh,
It's
So if
wow.
coming up.
anybody wants to join, there's still room.
Oh,
If
good.
you want to come along, it's going to be so fun because think about it. It's a Jubilee year. We got a new pope. He happens to be American. I'm Presbyterian, and even I'm excited or I was raised Presbyterian. Even I'm excited that we got an American pope. It just seems different. But also he's healthy enough that he usually comes to certain cemeteries on either All Saints or All Souls Day.
Oh,
I
how
can't remember
cool.
which, but we'll be there. We're gonna see we're gonna see another version of this, not the one in Genoa, that this Monteverde angel that's on the
Uh-huh.
covers of my books, Monteverde himself liked her so much that he made a replica for his own grave. So we'll
Oh,
be
how
seeing the
cool.
replica made for himself, not a replica that someone else made,
But
but
his own,
That's
yeah.
we'll
cool.
be going to the catacombs. We'll be seeing a lot of Etruscan tombs. Have a private chef, and we'll be eating a lot of great food and learning. I will be, I always do a lot of study sheets for the students who come along, and then we talk about the symbolism and on the history
How
of all the
fun.
places we're seeing. And we're seeing different places than we did last year. So I'm boning up on that and getting that already. And if anyone's interested, they should just come by my website, and there's probably information from there.
Yeah, I'll make sure we put a link in the show notes so that
Oh,
if
and
you want to go to Italy and have Tui as your personal tour guide through these cemeteries in Italy, please join her because it will be a
Pat Reed
fabulous
is
trip.
coming. And I should tell the Reeds, the
Yes.
wonderful people, I've got my I'm a morning person button on that Ken Reed gave me, the live in Colorado. And you've had a couple of teas with them, Jenny, I
I
know, which was
have. We just this
great.
year I got to
Mhm.
have tea with them in July. So we did the Alice in Wonderland theme, which was so much fun. Being that I'm a huge Alice fan, as you can tell.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes,
You
And
see
and
her
this
they,
is the
car.
Curiouser and Curiouser cabinet behind me. So,
oh, that is cute.
and it's full of not all Alice stuff, but a lot of Alice items.
Mhm.
But yeah, Pat and Ken are great. And I know Pat was telling me she was going on the tour and she's super stoked. So,
Oh, I'm excited to meet her in person.
oh,
Yeah.
she's so
That's so
Yeah.
much
lovely.
fun.
But I should
So,
tell people too that I did add something to my website now. It's a little 8-page PDF about the symbolism of hands in
oh, cool.
cemeteries, because that's
Yes.
how I got my husband into it. Was I started pointing out hands, because hands are so easy to identify. People
Yes.
sometimes think cemetery symbolism, it sounds so arcane and weird. Everyone knows what a hand looks like. You can point to a hand, but a hand doing this is different than a hand doing that. I'm
Right.
pointing up and down in case people are not watching. But I mean, there's
Or
a
then the
lot of
hands
things you can
interlocked or
tell.
shaking. Yes.
Yes, and they can mean different things. Marriage, sudden death, fraternal organizations, all sorts of things can be gleaned lineage from the hand. So I made a little free um, guidebook that when people sign up for my newsletter, they can get this guide. So as a
Cool.
like
Very
a thank
cool.
you gift. So there you go.
Oh, well, Tui, thank you so much. We will let you go. I know you have some other plans this afternoon, but thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to join us and to be on the show. Of course, we love having you anytime. So we probably won't get to chat again before your trip in October, but I hope it goes super, super
Oh yeah,
well.
enjoys.
And again,
Thank
folks,
you.
make sure you check out the links, order the books. If you have an opportunity to travel in October, take this trip, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Have fun, Tui.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. To learn more about today's episode, visit our website, theordinaryextraordinarycemetery.com, where you'll find additional links in our show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you enjoyed this or any of our episodes, consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Your support helps others find our show and discover all of our ordinary, extraordinary stories.
You can also follow us on social media for cemetery facts, photos, quotes, and more. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Ordinary Extraordinary Cemetery. If you'd like to help support us financially, you can donate a cup of coffee by clicking on the coffee cup icon on our website or YouTube, or purchase some of our fabulous Ordinary Extraordinary Cemetery merchandise through our store link.
Until we meet again.